Good, welcome to China's Calling's 4th edition here in the Dutch Design Week in Eindhoven. My name is Michiel Hulshof. I used to be a China correspondent, a journalist, living and working from Shanghai for 4 years. Even wrote a book about Chinese cities and the architectural parts of that. And I'm very happy to be able to stand here among old friends. Now, China Calling is a yearly hybrid conference here at the Dutch Design Week, supported by Creative NL, curated by China Europe Design, and organized by Entry. This conference aims to deepen the understanding between this part of the world, Holland, Netherlands, Europe, and the Chinese design community. And even while we're not able to travel freely, still due to the pandemic, back and forth to China, the design bond is increasingly important because in this fractured world that we're living in at the moment, we're still facing huge challenges that need a common approach, that need a bond also between designers. And that's the topic that we will talk about today. And we will take you through a journey today from Europe to China and back to explore this design bond in 3 parts. We will start with nature. So what can nature, what kind of inspiration can it bring for example, circular design? Then we will move on to our next nature, technology. What can that bring? And we'll answer with the planet. And we will do that with a discussion with all the speakers here on the stage in Eindhoven. And then at the end of the program, we have something special, a participatory performance. And I cannot tell you a lot about it, except for that you really have to participate. Also, when you're not here in Eindhoven, but when you're watching online in your home or in your office in China, because we have an audience in China as well at the moment. And I want to give them a special welcome to join our conversation here in Eindhoven. And that is made possible by Cora Feng and Object Asia, so thanks for that. All right, you can applause also for our friends on the other side of the planet. Yeah. Okay, we will start with an introduction. And if it's all right, then we have a live connection now with Richard Su in China. And I don't see him yet on the screen, so I hope he can hear us. He's a co-curator of the Shenzhen Hong Kong Biennale. He's part of Tongji University. He's a TEDx ambassador to China, and he's a member of the advisory board of China Europe Design, and who curated this program. Welcome, Richard. I hope you can hear us.
Can hear you very well. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Yes, you are a very prominent member and have been for a long time a prominent member of the creative field in China. And I wonder, could you tell us a little bit what is currently happening in the creative field in China? What is the situation?
Michelle, I think the question is a wide question.
It's a very wide question, I agree.
China is very diverse, but if you don't mind, I will give a bit of a general response. 2-3 points. I think the slowdown of the last couple of years may be positive in some ways.
In what way?
I think we do have to really be sympathetic and empathetic to the students, to performance, to many creative industries around the world, in Asia. But on the slowdown, because China has been going at such high speed for many years, for a couple of decades. So this slowdown was unprecedented. Nobody could possibly even plan it. So within this, I think a lot of new ideas, a lot of new things are more brewing internally, and is given time, is given room for them to be prototyped. So we may see less of large projects, but we believe a lot of the projects that we will see will be very mindful and very careful.
Yeah. So if I understand you correctly, you say so the slowdown that we saw worldwide in the creative fields in the past year, so due to the pandemic, has maybe led to good thinking?
Because I think in the past decade, so much of moving at such speed that you don't really have time to contemplate. You really don't have better time to plan. So I believe this is, in some ways, we will see really more impactful, more special projects coming through. And also people have learned to collaborate online and across border in times that previously was difficult. You cannot reach people. Nowadays, it is, for the last couple of years, was really easy to come together with people and collaborate and do the best we can.
Now, in Europe especially, we saw, due to the pandemic and the inability to travel, we saw a huge increase in the number of online forms of cooperation. Well, China was already, in technological sense, in some ways ahead of Europe. So, but did you also see it in China?
Maybe I'll share a couple of stories. I think, for the past decades, the process and the journey were just abundant and very distracting. You can go anywhere at any time. And I think for the last 3 years, so many Chinese stay within their country. They stay within their borders. They look inwards and they learn inwards. They learn among themselves. So there's more about roots, more about vernacular inspiration. So we see countryside flourish. We see many more what they call cultural tourism more happening. Yeah. So crafts and various different villages have been supported. Ecotourism has been supported. And I think when time comes, we don't know how many months. I think China is now also ready to go abroad and keep.
Yeah.
Do that with a new energy.
Yeah, and so that is actually the theme of this conference, of course. So we're looking at the design bond between China and Europe. So that is looking outside. So if you, as a member of the advisory board of China-Europe Design, what is the urgency of this conference?
I took a few notes because I don't want to miss any of these things. I will.
Go ahead.
I think we are really I'm a strong believer of interdisciplinary and intercultural future. So I think design itself is not by itself, but it is collaborating so much in film, digital, performance, music, understanding green, interacting with elders, future, and the planet. And I think for a very long time, we think East-West is a must. The bridge of East-West is a must. And have-nots are also very important. Past and future really is also something that we always have to look at, what the Chinese would call a good balance. And I think something that I'm lucky to say I've always really try to have one foot in the east, one foot in the west, one hand in the north, and one hand in the south. Because I think I've been always looking at the edge thinking of the east, south, west, north. Because I think a lot of things, the middle thinking of east, south, west, north is probably quite common. It's quite expected because of media. So I think bonding, I think this theme is really appropriate. I think bonding is super cool. It is not about temporary and not about fleeting. It's humanistic. The world is splintering, so bonding is absolutely imperative.
Yeah, and if I may interrupt, if you think about what could that bonding between China and Europe in the design field bring us? So what can that human interaction bring us?
I will continue a little bit. I think bonding is really human-to-human exchange. I think that's really the word bonding, right? I think how do we find ways to push conferences like these and collaboration to go for deeper and more lasting levels? rather than having too many events, but really having depth of events. I think we see many collaborations in the world, but I think what we hope to aim for is really deep and radical collaboration that just really surprise ourselves, that 1 + 1 is not 11, but we really push it to the infinity. And if I may also say is, I think in some ways the word China-Europe design is also, we're now exploring the concept of Asia, because I very much believe in the concept of a pan-region, so pan-Asia, because all the neighbors that we're surrounded complete us, just like Europe. Yeah. All the neighbors in east, south, west, north complete each other to make a beautiful picture. Yeah. So we hope to be able to bring a little bit that bridge continuously and ask the right questions and to make it as humanistic, as interaction, as results as possible.
Richard Su, can I thank you for these beautiful words? 1 + 1 is going to infinity together. So I will remember that, because that is very beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us from China at this conference. If you walk to the microphone, we have a question here, Richard, if you have the time. You can also come to the stage. Yeah. So we have here. Yeah, please welcome the head of international affairs at the Dutch Design Week, Ingrid van der Wacht.
Hello.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but we cannot hear Richard now anymore. So that is the yeah.
That's a pity.
I don't know if the technical maybe there will be possible to bring him back. And
he said such white words.
and I hope so. Probably Richard can hear us. So we should applaud for him for being here.
I thought it was really wonderful what he was saying.
Yeah, you went a bit off script. Yeah, that's okay. So
good.
This year's theme...
It's Dutch Design Week.
Yeah,
so.
This year's theme of the Design Week is Get Set.
Yes.
So I have this image of putting your hands before the line, and it's the moment before you start to sprint. Is that also the theme?
It's, I think, also a contemplation moment, but a short one, because I think we have been building as Dutch Design Week 21st edition already since many years on working together with designers on creating better scenarios for a good future for everyone. And we are collaborating with the rest of the world. We are in the World Design Weeks network with Beijing and Shenzhen and Shanghai, some of the design festivals up there. And but I still think it's important to know what partners we can also find in China, because I think collaboration is so important. Yeah. But we need to understand each other, so we need to be on the same line. You might say, on the same page.
I'll ask a couple of questions about that, but first,
what
do we get set for? So what are we going to get set for?
Well, of course, Dutch Design Week is the week of the future, design festival for the future. Yeah. We are looking really into how our projects like what World Design Embassies or What If Labs that are all about collaborations, multidisciplinary collaborations with always designers, of course, involved, into how can we find solutions for certain also big problems, like that's the World Design Embassies. They are focusing on themes like food or water. And I think that's there's a lot happening, and we need now to kind of really bring it into practice and to really find also collaborators everywhere in the world that are also coping with similar problems or maybe a little bit different, but we can learn from each other. I believe very much in...
But we get set for the solution of the bigger problems that we're facing? Is that sort of the theme that you think about?
We get set to work on, because let's say we get set and we are on a mission. Let's not forget that. So we have different missions, and not a mission like a moonshot, but really like focusing on the planet Earth, you might say better, because I think we need to, and humankind in general, inclusive. So all things that we are taking with partners as a kind of topics of investigation, exploration and development, and then design and prototyping, testing and doing it. So that's the Get Set.
That's the Get Set.
And it needs to be really activated and accelerated.
Now we're talking about the design bond between China and Europe, or China and the Netherlands. how do you see that in the light of the Get Set?
Well, as I just say, we work already together with some festivals, but we, as Dutch Design Week, have a different festival that's really very open to the public, that is not with price tags, that is really about really showing to as many people as possible what is possible when you work together with creatives.
So you're focusing on bonding and on...
Yeah, we're doing the bonding already as such, and I think that's also what we would like to see in other festivals much more, instead of like a fair, just presenting beautiful objects. It's not about that just, and we know also Europe has now a new European Bauhaus, which is about fair, sustainable and beautiful, for the sort of beautiful. So I think those are...
So and what can then the bond, with, from your point of view, with China bring?
Well, I think that we, as just said, I think that I can totally, it resonates totally what I just heard with how we are thinking. I personally think is that we really need to flourish our planet by not having competition, but complementarity. And I think that's all what we need to focus on. We need to co-create and collaborate, and with in the interest of everybody, and not just money, but really also other values. And that's something we need to share, I think, also. And that's really a cultural challenge as well. Yeah. But of course, there's a lot to share with each other.
Yeah, and Richard Su also mentioned, okay, so maybe not only China, it's the Pan-Asia.
Yeah, no, it's everywhere, not only Asia, it's the whole world.
Yeah.
We need to do it really together. We are facing really huge problems that are about all of us. If something's happening there, like the butterfly, we will feel it also.
It's going to create a storm somewhere else on the world.
Yeah, right.
So
and that happens. We really need to change as mankind, as humankind. Let's say humankind is better, not just men. So I think we really have to adapt different lifestyles. We are different. We have our own cultures. But I think in this we can root really new ways of living. And I think Dutch Design Week is all about that. This is the world like
we show all these pictures.
Jasper Bloom shows in a graduate of Dutch Design, of the Design Academy Eindhoven, I should say. A great person who has made an entire utopian world, which is also a little bit dystopian, but we can learn of that. We have New Order of Fashion. We have the poo show, or the shit show, I should say. Really things that I kind of really like resonate with the audience. What is this about? So the pee poo, we can use it to really improve our soils, which is needed also. Yeah. The planet is exhausted.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, there's a lot to talk about, I know, but we are already over our time. Thank you so much for giving this introduction.
Ingrid van der Wacht. Yo, let's get set.
Oh, Get Set, yeah. Yeah, good. So, it's time to start our journey. We are going to the first part, nature. And as I said, we want to look at our bond with nature and how it can inspire us, and how respect for the environment can be a starting point for circular design. And we will do that with two speakers. And our first speaker is founder of Studio Tjeerd Veenhoven. His work is experimenting with materials, and he's an award-winning studio. He's developing and designing sustainable materials and products, but he can tell it himself much better. He will also tell us a bit more about his practice and his upcoming project with China. So please give him a warm welcome, Tjeerd Veenhoven.
First slide is going to be there now. That's the first slide, excellent. Thank you very much for having me. It's a great honor to be here, especially now in these difficult times. We definitely need to collaborate to get to the finish line. And I want to share with you a few projects over my 20-year career as a designer, as a material developer. My expertise is very much in designing sustainable materials, sustainable value chains even, from raw materials, how to harvest them, how to process them, all the way to product, and even after use, what to do with these materials. And I've been very fortunate over the last 10 years to have been able to collaborate with Chinese friends and companies, starting already in 2010 and in 2017. And even now in 2019 and 20, we started projects with two of my Chinese company friends who were shown there. on creating value out of tea residue from green tea, and also some of the innovations I've come up with, we try to implement them in China, which is a fantastic opportunity, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. As you can see, wishful thinking, so this is my general first thing that I do as a designer. I have a wish and a vision which I want to do, but of course these things are always very hard and you want to make them a reality, so we have to actually do stuff in order to make these things work. Let me see. There's one. So I'm going to discuss 3 projects with you. The first one is called Huis Veenam. It's difficult to pronounce for my Chinese friends, but it's basically the name of a company. And this company has to do with biopolymers. Biopolymers are the kind of the connectors, the plastics we need in the future to replace our oil-based plastics. And our plastic of choice, our biopolymer of choice, is starch. It's potato starch. It can also be rice starch, but in our case it's potato starch, because potatoes are a core staple of Dutch food. And actually, in peeling these potatoes, you actually get a lot of starch residue. And that starch, we take that out of that peel and we make it into an adhesive, a glue. And this glue is a crucial part of the technology that we developed in order to make beautiful materials. In 2013, during the Dutch Design Week, I presented my first vision for these adhesives. What I did, I collected 130 different organic waste streams, so residual streams from food production and gardens and municipalities. And thanks to this natural binder, I was able to make them into these biolaminates, as we call them. So as you see here in this picture, there's a whole library of fibers that I basically connected to each other with this glue, turn them into a very beautiful decorative assortment of natural materials. And this company has been on a development for the last 10 years, and now we're quite big, making a lot of products. And last summer, we actually did a beautiful project in the Mauritshuis in The Hague, where we were allowed to design the material that was used in the background of an exhibition about Dutch masters. And you can see here this pinkish color material on the back. That's actually a biolaminate with tulips, with of course the famous natural Dutch flower, and we made this beautiful material to be there. This technology is quite interesting, and it's something I would like to work along with my Chinese partners as well. We did work for some famous companies, Atelier Luma. I think most of you know them. They're in the south of France, and they work a lot about sustainability issues. And for them, we actually converted a lot of their local residual streams into these biolaminates. So you can see a beautiful collection of materials here that we made with them, for them, to apply in the architectural projects. These laminates are typically used for furniture, for wall coverings, but now even for flooring, because the technology, the sustainable technology, is also moving forward. So we're getting better at the things we do, so we can replace more products. The most important thing is that this is a fully VOC-free product, so no organic compounds, no volatile organic compounds. This is all water-based. This is fully circular. You could actually totally put this back in nature without any harm. This is crucial. This gives us also many challenges, because therefore we can't use this outside at the moment, because it will wither too fast. So knowing your limitations is an important part of my job, which is sometimes a little bit difficult working with my Chinese friends, because they're typically quite a hurry. They want to implement and they want to fast forward, and I have to show them that it's not always so easy to do this, so we have to take a little bit of time. But nevertheless, thanks to my Chinese friends, we've already been able to convert, for instance, the green tea into this biolaminate. So you can see some pictures here where we have bamboo and tea residual streams, and we put them in these biolaminates. So we call these biocomposites, right? This is a new word. So you have a binder and you have fibers. And you also see color here. Don't worry, this is not a synthetic coloring. This is a natural pigments we used. Hopefully also when I get to go to China again, we can also use local colors and local pigments. So we can create a whole assortment of beautiful materials based on the residual streams from tea. So another project I want to share with you is it's about a Dutch famous flower. It's about tulips. So in Holland we have 23,000 hectares of tulips every year, which for Chinese is not very much, but for Dutch people it's quite a lot, and it's world famous, obviously. And the thing that is always quite funny is when our foreign friends come over to the Netherlands in the end of April, beginning of May, and they see these beautiful fields with flowers. They take the pictures, and if they would come back the next day, all the flowers would be gone. Because actually the Dutch people, they're not really interested so much in the flower itself, they are interested actually in the bulb that's in the ground. We grow these flowers for the bulb, and these bulbs we actually export to China a lot as well, for you to put in your ground. But you can see here, this is me many years ago already, but this is me inspecting flowers. The interesting thing, and also the problematic thing about the flower industry in Holland, that it's very heavy on pesticides. So we use a lot of pesticides to control the crop, and we use a lot of fertilizer to make them grow. So these fields are typically monoclimates, and it's something we try to change in the Netherlands. So over the last 2 years ago, I collaborated with one of only 2 organic tulip farmers in Holland in order to work with him and to see what I can do with his tulips. Because as I said, all these tulips are being cut in the end of April, beginning of May. So you talk about 700,000 flower heads per hectare. It's a huge amount of flowers that are there. And this is waste. Nobody works with this. This is actually the organic farm I'm talking about, and these flowers are there as well. So what I did in 2016, and also last year in 2020, I should say, is I collected 6 million flower heads, and I decided to do something with them. What we did is we dried them. But first I want to show you the harvest. This is beautiful. So we actually commissioned my friends and family to participate in the annual flower harvest of tulips. Usually they are thrown away, but now we are collecting them. And this is a little short movie on how we did that with sexy drone shots, which is cool. So this is John Huiberts, and I want to mention him because he's one of those 2 organic flower farmers in Holland, and he's a personal hero of mine. I am inspired by farmers in the Netherlands if they do the organic farming, and it's also one of the things I hope to encounter in China when I work with farmers there to convert their residual streams into to products. You can see it's quite an operation. So 6 million flower heads. So the farmer has his own drying facilities that he's using to dry bulbs in August, but now in May these drying facilities are not used. So we're actually drying these flowers in his fully sustainable solar powered drying facility. So this is indeed my ex-girlfriend actually on the on the machine assisting with the flower harvest, and that's just very pretty. And the man on the right operating the machine he used this machine 40 years ago when it was still normal to collect these flower heads and to convert them into crop improvement materials. But now that's not happening anymore. But he came back to show us how that machine worked, which was pretty cool. This was a beautiful day in the north of Holland, and very productive. So here you can see we're putting them in these big crates and we start drying them. And when they're dried, we have to turn them into pigments, because that's basically what we do. The beautiful thing about flowers, the tulip flowers, is the color is the same every year, because it's a genetic color. So if you have 6,000 or 6 million flower heads, you can convert them into a dry powder pigment, which you can use for all sorts of applications. Let me show you the next clip. So what we do is we grind them to a very fine powder, a huge amount of material. The fun thing is that I do this myself as well. So this is me operating the machine. I love to get my hands dirty and to participate in the field. And we then convert them to these beautiful pigments you can see here in all sorts of colors. We have selected 3 colors that are currently used to color the clothing of a large fashion brand for the spring collection. So this is happening. And the cool thing here is this is not a single event anymore. There is now an agreement between the farmer and the fashion brand where they have basically agreed upon how much they will pay for a ton of pigment. I'm not part of that anymore. So that value chain has started. I would love to do these things in China as well, because of course you have a lot of these crops, whether with flowers or not, but things you can convert to the sustainable coloring. So my last project, you see some beautiful things we colored as well. There's a lot of problem with using natural color in fashion, but the fashion brand I'm collaborating with, they developed their own sustainable system of fixating color. So actually it's a beautiful marriage between my technology and theirs. So the last project I want to discuss with you, and I think it's very important because it's slightly less sexy, but it's about building materials. A large part of my career is dedicated to converting organic materials into sustainable building materials. It's a very important thing. In Holland, we have the peat bogs, which are very important for our ecoclimate, and we need more of those peat bogs actually to restore our climate. And that means that we have to sacrifice agricultural land, which is always a big problem. But if we do so, then we also have to come up with alternative applications for the plants and crops that grow in those wet areas. And the cattail, you most likely know this, is one of these materials. But you also have the reeds that you see here as well. We need to also convert those to building materials. And the cattail especially is something that I really like. And we developed a whole system of harvesting this plant, which you also need to develop. You cannot always rely on people solving these problems for you. You have to go to them and say, you know, you have to help me to develop this something. This is one of the projects we would like to do in our new lab that we're starting in Nanjing. We have a beautiful collaboration where some of these materials and these projects will be hopefully kindled and expanded. That's pretty nice to look forward to. Some technical images of how you handle cattail. This might be boring to you, but it's crucial how to handle fiber. You have to start value chains. You know, we're not designing products for an exhibition in a gallery. We're designing products for implementation and impactfulness in whole systems. So therefore, these kind of things, how to produce, how to manufacture, are essential things in our thing. And I couldn't imagine a better place to do that than China, indeed. So this is one of the things I hope to do there as well. Here you can see some of the technology in action, actually. We make these building materials, these new panels. This is from the same plant, cattail. And this is a fully sustainable building board that we produce. And this is actually my studio, so we do this ourselves. Now we have a bigger machine, but you know, this is where it starts, me experimenting with these biopolymers, often from starch, and then converting these local fibers into important new sustainable building materials. And I'm also happy to announce, because that doesn't happen to designers like me very often, that you get into musea. You know, I make building materials. This is not typically something people are really that hot for, but I show you this picture because this is a Stedelijk Museum in Amsterdam, where they decided to show my materials, which is surprising to me. But it's also about time we do this, because we need more attention for these sustainable ideas, and we need to see them as radical and crucial and essential for the future of our planet. And I think the collaboration with China is something I'm looking very much forward to create a maximum impact for my ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tjeerd Veenhoven. It's beautiful to see your pioneering work in this field, and you'll be back in the panel after the other presentations, so we can ask some questions about it. Okay, we move to someone who has been working with clay for 35 years. And she's a co-founder of eDesign, and she will share with us her response towards ceramic waste. That's something, if you're into pottery, you have to do with ceramic waste, and she found a solution to that. So please give her a warm welcome, Caroline Cheng.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to our next slide. So as you can see in this picture, there's a problem in China. We are one of the biggest producer of ceramic products. 70% are exported overseas and used in China itself. And if you're an artist, if you've ever done pottery, like how many people have done pottery? Raise your hand. Yeah. Okay, so you know that when you do it, 30% of your stuff is fired and you go, and you throw it away, right? So a little bit, like you must throw it away because there's nothing else you can do with it. So I am an artist, so there's a problem. There's 18 million tons a year produced in China in all the production area. So this is us. So we started a new company, And okay, so that's me and Carl, and we are the co-founders. I am an artist. I've been an artist for 35 years. Carl is an up-and-coming designer. He used to go to the university in Jingdezhen. That is the ceramic capital of the world, porcelain capital. And then later, he went to Central St. Martin's to do his master's degree. You can see my work at the British Museum. But having said that, I also own a ceramic studio in Jingdezhen. It's one of the largest in China. And when you're driving down Jingdezhen, you look at the garbage dumpsters, 40% usually are ceramic waste. Because people would make this stuff, and then they fire, and they go, oops, and then they throw it in the garbage. And the garbage is taken away to be buried, or sometimes the factories will illegally dump it in the middle of the night. Our mission, we started a new company last year, is to take care of this waste. Let's figure out the problem. Because Carl went to Central St. Martin's and figured out a new binding material that can make ceramics bind together so we can make it into architectural products, art, or like, what else is that, commercial stuff. So we now have main offices in Shanghai, and our lab research, and a factory in Jingdezhen. So we started by taking action to call all these factory owners and say, hi, would you like to not throw away your trash? Can you separate it? And they're like, no. So we're like, okay, we'll send you some boxes. So we sent them some boxes, and we go back the following week to collect. So every week we would go and collect. And one time, in the biggest factory producing the most waste, our 2 boxes were stolen. But we said, okay, no, we'll do it. We'll continue to collect. So that's how much we sort of collected now. Since last April, we've collected 5,000 tons. Now remember, this little thing is 5,000 tons. The first picture you saw was 5,000 tons, including the factory, the building that behind it. It was filled with ceramics. But in Jingdezhen, it's 1 million tons a year of waste. So even the factory at the back is like filled, and then it's bursting on the seam, so we had to put it outside. Anyway, so we also do community service. We ask all the young artists in Jingdezhen to please don't make bad work. If you make bad work, throw it away, recycle and do it again. And if you do have any waste, please give it to us. So we do a lot of community programming. Hopefully, everybody will listen to us, and there won't be as much waste produced. I don't know, I'm not even touching this, and it is moving by itself. Okay, so here's our lab. We're being serious here. We have about 3 staff now, but we want to have at least 20, because we have so many ideas in our brain, and as he said, Chinese people want to go forward, fast forward, quickly, and we're like, yeah, we can, but we need more people to help us. So what we have done in the last year and a half is we've come up with 5 products. Most of them are still in the lab, because you know that in lab research, it's not the same as production. If you take the stuff from the lab and you take it to a factory to have it made, it's actually not quite there yet. So we have to go to this factory, make it, and then look at the stuff and go, okay, we need to tweak the formulas. So that's what the first one, the non-porous brick, the second porous brick, and the tiles are all producible now. We have finally got it. And we have now, the fourth one is clay. We have now come up with a clay body that is 50% recycled material, and it's just a clay that you can use. So we're just working on it now in the lab. And then finally, the e-glaze is a glaze made out of industrial waste. So that's what we're working on also. I'm not touching. Is it moving? Okay. Oh, really? Okay, so we came up with 180 colors. This actually small brick is not producible. We try to make it in the factory, but it doesn't work because the aggregate is too big. So we always have to constantly work on it. But the colors, we can do it. This is commercial colors anyway. And on the left-hand side are the 3 different kinds of textures for our the surface. And then on the other side, it looks like biscuits, but it's just the kind of like material that, if you look close up, it's the beginning bricks that we were making. Okay, and this is, I have a friend who has 2 gigantic biomass, using biomass to generate electricity plant. And he messaged me and said, hey, I've got all this ash. Can you do something? I was like, okay, let's figure out some glazes with it. So the right-hand side is just like itself pure, and then the left-hand side are like with some colorants inside. And then these are some of the other things that we were doing. Again, these are all tests now. They are not producible. And then even the terrazzo-looking ones, we don't really produce the terrazzo ones, but we can. We've done it for a project, and I'll show you later. And then, so the right-hand side is the clay body. I think I have some here. I have some products here, so if afterwards, if you want to take a look, you can. And on the left-hand side is Carl's furniture that he made. It's about 1.5 meters long. It's outdoor furniture, because ceramics, as you know, cannot be broken down, so it can be left outside, and it's a perfect outdoor furniture. And I'm an artist, so I'm always going, I'm sick of this boring factory, lab, can I do something? So Carl's like, okay, here's a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, hey, this brick broke in half. Let me smash it up into little rocks. And because it's porous, so can I put some essential oil in it and make it smell nice? So I did a few rocks in the studio, and then for a whole 10 days, it smelled like hotel inside because it's so nice. And then the little tiger are like coasters that I made, and said, can I make some coasters? And Carl would say, who's the market? Who will buy these things? I'm like, I don't know, I'm the artist, I just make the work. But I made some, so that I also bought some. If anyone wants some, I can give it to you. And then finally, the bottom one with the grass is, if I dug a hole inside this brick, one brick can hold up to 300 milliliters of water. So can I just put some grass in it and just water it once a week, and it will hold the water, and I don't have to water so much, and yes, it grew. And this is our handmade brick. That is the non-porous brick. It's producible right now. We have a project with COS, and we are using this brick. And this is the 100% recycled material. Everything is recycled. We are starting to, this is already fired pieces. It is matte in color. So we are starting from matte all the way to glossy. So right now, this is 2 weeks ago in our lab. And this is our prototyping factory. We have a small run factory just to make sure it doesn't work, So some of the things are produced in it, but we are also collaborating with big factories, because we just give them the material and they can just produce it. So this is the producer stuff. This is the porous brick. Netherlands invented sponge cities. And so this brick, you put some water on top and go, and it sucks right up. The porosity is higher than what you can get in the market right now. This is up to 97%. Oops, I didn't even press that. Oh, can go back. that was 97% recycled material. Oh yeah, this one. And then the next one, these are the tiles, cladding for wall, outdoors, indoors, whatever you want. These are also producible. We're working with a company in Jingdezhen to produce these. So we don't have to do the mass production. It's too much for us. Green is not cheap, so it's better to have somebody who's already making these things help us. So our brick, actually the porous brick, when we first tested it, it was so strong. It's 3 times the strength of a regular brick. So we can tweak the binding material and make it cheaper. And then it will be just the standard brick. But it could be up to very, very strong. You can have fire trucks go on top of it and it won't break, if you want. And so for us, we started last May, so it's only maybe a year and a half maximum. But we have also worked with some, we are producing some for companies like Neolife. NEO is the electric company in China. They wanted to make some things to sell in their shop called NEO Life, so we made these brooches that are made out of our material. Aldo Cebic, he's one of the founding members of the Memphis movement in Italy, and he's in Shanghai. So we just invited him to help us design a large sculpture using our tiles, and it was featured in the Design China, Beijing last year. So I was born in England, and I grew up in Hong Kong, so I'm really not Chinese. But I'm like Richard, so it's like I'm stepping between the two Western and Eastern. I can speak English much better than a lot of people in China, so I can come out and, like have a dialogue with everybody. This is a house in Shanghai that had the porous brick. You can see there's a little bit of color difference because of the material. In the end, you'll see all the stuff that we've collected. So this is a bar that somebody made. This is Starbucks. That's the terrazzo that I said. It was for their facade. They wanted green, so we made it for them. This is in Shanghai. And that's the Glass Museum. The Glass Museum recently had these new containers made, and the inside they wanted to be sort of like a glass kiln. So they gave us some of the recycled glass, like the glass they didn't want, and then we recycled it and put it in our bricks. So it was part of their display. And so we are certified, very important, hello, certified, award-winning. So what is our future? Because we've collected, we've produced, we are able to sell them. We hope that in the future we'll work with big factories. This is like a factory with their standard material, and we gave them our material to test, and it came out perfect. We want to work with factories. We want to have different production areas all over the world making ceramics with the waste. We can help them develop the binding material for their material. We want to work with governments. We want to be worldwide. And then I put a picture of MVRDV because that's what I want to work with people like that in Holland, MA. I really want to work with people like that. And on the right-hand side, we are now talking to the Hangzhou government because there's a village with 60 village houses, and we will hopefully, if they can afford it, be using that as for all their village houses. I'm hoping. So that's us. The next two are videos that I'll show you. I want to say that we are in the dawn of the clean revolution, and I hope we are pioneers together, the Dutch and the Chinese. So how about the videos? Oh, here. Okay, so this video is how we go and really collect. First of all, it has to be middle of the night because those trucks are illegal. They can only put like 3 to 5 tons, and what they're carrying is at least 35 tons. This is one of the factories that were making dinnerware. So we have to go in the middle of the night and then go, and then as we're collecting, we have to take all the garbage out of sometimes they have like cloth and wood and whatever. So some people have to come and help us pick, but this is, and then this is the COVID glove rubber molds. And of course, China was like, oh, they need gloves. Let's hurry up and make a lot of gloves. But while making that, they have a lot of waste for these, failed gloves. This is the inside of our factory that was bursting. This was when, in the beginning, when we first said, oh, let's put it in this room. And then, of course, it's totally filled out. The corrugated steel on the side has all you're standing from the outside, it's all like spilling out. And so we had a basketball court in our factory, so we're like, okay, let's fill that up. And so that's also filled. And then again, we have that big picture of whatever else left outside, we filled that too. So there's wine bottles, dinnerware, everything, like gloves. So yeah, that was April last year. And that was July. And now you can't even stand there and take a photo anymore. So that's the first video. And then we'll go to our second video, which shows us how porous it is. And thank you. That's my talk.
Caroline Cheng. Very, very inspiring, I think. And I'm looking forward to your joining the panel and having a discussion also with Tjeerd, because I see similarities between your work. Okay, we move on from nature to technology. Because, of course, we come from nature, but more and more we're developing and creating our own environments through technology. So what does that mean, and how can that influence the work of a designer? So we're going to listen to two speakers again. First, we have artist, editor, and designer at the Next Nature Network, Next Nature, exploring how technology is becoming really our next nature. And please give him a warm welcome, Hendrik-Jan Grievink. And he will introduce and talk about a project called Techno Privilege.
Also.
Yes, also.
你好. 我是老杨. That's my Chinese name. It was given to me to my friend Lin Chuanzhen, a professor at Kafa University of Taiwan. I see some people nodding there. They know her. Yeah. My Dutch name is Hendrik-Jan Grievink, very Dutch name. Is this working? Yes. How did I do that? Fuck. Technology. So yeah, I'm going to talk about the next nature. What is nature actually? Do we still have a real authentic relationship with nature like our great ancestors used to have? Or is nature more a cultural category, something we like to enjoy in the weekends, but we don't really have this direct relationship anymore with? Our natural environment seems to be more or less completely replaced by technology, and this technology is becoming more and more intricate, complex, even crawls into our body. It almost feels like nature, and it starts looking like nature. This is an image of the internet. It's already a little bit old, but you can see this very intricate connection that almost seems like a neural network or a galaxy somewhere in the universe. We might need to update our notion of nature, and with this slide, people always start looking a bit worried. It's a Photoshop, of course. You've seen it already. You're smart. But we might need to update our notion of nature. And this notion of nature, I think, is built around the idea of things that are born or grown versus things that are made by humans. Now, if you look into Western philosophy, there's been this age-old divide of nature versus technology. If you draw this horizontal line and we put the word born on one hand, that also translates the word nature is derived of the word born or grown, and the word made on the other, we have this division, right? The polar opposite. But does that opposite still work for us in our world today? Let's introduce a second axis, and that's an axis of control. On the top, we have everything beyond our control, and below, everything under our control. And once we start filling it up, and I go a little bit fast today because I don't have that much time, but you can imagine that in the, let's say, the lower left half, you see things that are, well, they're grown, but they're also made or controlled by humans, like a bonsai tree, but also a banana. A banana that you buy in the supermarket is very, very different from a wild banana. Wild bananas are green, common with thick peel. So this yellow banana is designed for humans. It's a designer banana. It's hyper nature. Of course, there's also a lot of nature that we can't control. You see that in the top left half. Volcanic eruptions, the universe, viruses. Oh, we go really fast now. Can we go one back? Yeah. In the lower right section, you see things that are, well, that designers are making, things that are being made in a controlled environment, like factories, cars, smartphones, etc. But in this top right corner, we see things that are, well, yeah, also man-made, but they tend to escape our control. The internet, the financial system, these are structures that are man-made, very, very complex, and we become increasingly dependent on those. So is that a healthy situation that becomes so dependent on these very complex structures? And when something goes wrong, like in 2008, we saw the financial system almost collapse. That feels like a natural disaster, but it isn't. It's a man-made structure. So what is it? Maybe we should update our image of nature, and then the old vision of nature is that everything on the left side is everything that is born, but we might someday shift our notion of nature into everything that is beyond our control. It's a little bit of a paradigm shift, and it might not happen today, but maybe we're moving there. And then in the right top, there's space for a nature caused by humans, and I like to call it a next nature. And in the next nature, technology is a catalyst of evolutions. And I think this next nature it can be as beautiful as the old nature, but it can also be as unpredictable and wild and dangerous even. So we have to be careful and explore it together. Now, I'm a designer, so I like to use design through explore things. For instance, the future of food, and specifically meat. Now, are there people in the audience that eat animals? I do, I have to admit, yeah. Are there people who have a strictly vegetarian diet? Well, that's less than I expected, but that's okay. That's great, because that diet is, I think, by far the best diet for the planet. But there's also some alternatives to eating animals, which is growing the meat from animals in a lab. Here you see a little bit the process of that. You take cells out of, let's say, a cow. You put the cells in a controlled environment, in a petri dish. The cells start growing into muscle fiber. You have to train those muscle fiber with electrical pulses so that they become really strong. They stretch and relax and they grow. If you repeat these steps like 10,000 times, you might have enough for one hamburger. So it's really not so inefficient yet. This is how it looks like. This is how it looks like. Oh. Yeah. This is how it looks like in the beginning of the stage. So it's really kind of, it's cell culture. It doesn't look like anything tasty you would want to put in your mouth. But here in the next slide, we see what comes out of it. A hamburger patty that's not so very different than what you would buy in the supermarket. And the interesting thing is that if you would put this under a microscope, you would see exactly the same tissue fiber as you would have like meat that comes from an animal. Two main differences. There's no fat in it, and there's no bones, because the meat has not grown on a body. It's just cell culture. It's grown in a lab, in a controlled environment. Now, scientists, they are doing this. We were very far in the Netherlands at the Maastricht University. This guy, Mark Post, he launched and cooked the first lab-grown hamburger in the world. And I think that's super amazing. It holds a lot of potential to feed the world, to reduce animal cruelty, and so on. But creatively speaking, it's a little bit lazy. Why do a hamburger? Why not do something more interesting? And well, that's where I think designers come in. And we assembled a team with writers, photographers, illustrators, myself as an art director, and we materialized the preferable and probable futures of this in vitro meat. We created 45 recipes. I'll show you a few. You can think of knitting meat, connecting all the fibers, deconstructing the idea of meat, make it into something completely different, like an ice cream. If you can make a broth out of meat, why not? Maybe it looks very much like a lab product. It doesn't pretend to look like meat. As I said, there's no bones, so we can reinvent those bones. We can, of course, use the 3D printer to mimic existing bone structure, but hey, why not do something more interesting, something different, like these bone pickers? For the kids, we have dodo nuggets. We know that we have still a little bit DNA to maybe revive the dodo or another species like the panda. I think people in China will be very happy if we could clone pandas. I think people all other places in the world also. And I want to end here because I like this story, and I have to share a little bit of personal story. we're having a family dinner, and my niece at some point, she asks, like, Mom, what's for dinner? And her mother, my sister, she answers, oh, we're having sausages tonight. And she's like, oh yeah, I like sausages. But Mom, where are sausages made from? So her mother answers her, like, well, they're made out of pigs. And my niece goes like, but wait a minute. Don't you realize that if we make sausages out of pigs, those pigs can die? And the mother was like, yeah, okay, we have to sit and have a little talk. But maybe that would be different in this situation. Can you imagine that you have a pig growing in your back garden or in a zoo nearby you, and you go there, or I would go there with my niece, and you pet the pig and take a little syringe and take some cells out, and you would just grow those cells. Yeah, then in a couple of days you might have enough meat to feed the family. And I can tell my niece, yeah, we eat animals tonight, we eat pigs, but after dinner we go back and we cuddle them. So that would be a revolution, not only a completely new product, but a completely new relation between humans and animals. These scenarios we bundled together in a cookbook, the In Vitro Meat Cookbook, 45 recipes that you cannot cook. Because, yeah, the main ingredient is not yet there. At least, well, it's there in a lab, but not on a market. After the book, we created an exhibition with objects that traveled. This microbial meat, the ice cream again, the meat oyster. And this exhibition we also brought to Shenzhen in 2019. The OCT Museum, curated by Selena Yang. And it was very interesting to bring this concept to Shenzhen and, of course, engage with a Chinese audience who have, as we know, China has a very rich food culture, and to talk about these concepts. For me, that was very inspiring to do that and show, these ideas just to different audiences worldwide. And I think it's important to know that this project we don't do to predict the future, but we do it to create scenarios that help us make better choices for the futures we actually want. How do you make those choices? What are our tools? Well, this is one of our tools. If I had more time, I would go into this. It's the pyramid of technology. It shows how technology becomes nature in 7 steps. Another time I'll tell more about this. But I want to close off, maybe with a little bit of a, yes? Abracadabra, yeah. So, we know that like the very advanced technology has the potential to become like nature, and that sounds beautiful. That's all this next nature technology around us will be like nature. But we know there's also another side to technology. Yeah? We can enjoy all these advantages of technology, but are we aware of the consequences that they have, the impact it has on people and planet? Technology like facial recognition, that's in all our phones, makes it easy to just make contactless payments. But can we ever get rid of these technologies, or are they here forever? And who's owning the technologies? So my question to myself, but also to you, is: do we make conscious decisions when it comes to the technology in our daily lives, or do we just stumble around and just do whatever we like? And I think if that's the case, and for me, I have to admit that it's often the case in my life, I just not always make those conscious choices, then I think like I might have some technology privilege, meaning that I can enjoy all those advantages, but I don't have to deal with the consequences of them. So maybe it's a good time to check in with yourself and check your techno privilege. Yes. And that's what I'm doing right now at the Dutch Design Week here at the Ketelhuisplein. Do we have pictures? Oh, yes, we have pictures. That's me with a life raft right next to the bar at the Ketelhuisplein. And we are there with the team, engaging with the audience. We give them a flyer, they scan the flyer, and they engage with the conversation with a chatbot. And the chatbot is called Techie. And she really likes humans, but also technology. and she really likes asking people questions about their relation with technology, and specifically the choices that they make. It's a whole list of questions, takes a while. Questions like, have you ever experienced what it's like to live without any technology? Well, I haven't. I've never experienced that. So at the end of the conversation, Techie makes a calculation, and she calculates your technology privilege. The outcome's a percentage. If you scroll down, there's also a little bit of a personalized advice, because if you have privilege, you can use it, right? And that's different for everyone, whether you are a consumer or a creative or a politician. We hold different kinds of power, and maybe we can use that. Well, so we've been doing this this week. We are here the whole week anymore, so yeah, please come by. Also, people in China over there, come to Dutch Design Week. You can check the QR code, so you can do it on your phone as well. And I think it's an important moment in the world that we feel that, yeah, technology is really expanding and expanding. And I don't think we need per se less technology, but we need more conscious choices for technology. And I hope to contribute a little bit with that. So one simple action that you can do today is, well, check your own technology privilege. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hendrik-Jan Grievink. And I was actually wondering, we have some time, so I was wondering, so the meat, it's really, you know, it's mind-boggling, and I thought that changes the whole ethical concept of meat eating.
Yeah.
We can also eat a part of yourself, right?
I love that you bring that up.
Yeah.
There's always one person. Now,
Yeah,
today's the moderator.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, technically it's true. And well, if you would go to the Embassy of Food, created by Chloe Rutscheveld, Chloe made also a beautiful contribution to the cookbook. And her scenario is, eating your own body. So we'd grow some kind of medallion on your body.
Oh, you really grow it here?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I thought
carry
it petri skill.
Well, that's her scenario in the book.
Yeah.
So you would grow your own cells, and then in a very intimate moment, share it with your partner. Yeah.
Okay, where can we find this in the cookbook? So say it again. So we want to read the scenario.
Page 32. No, I don't know. It's like
okay.
in the cookbook. I don't know.
Okay,
no, yeah.
good. We'll look it up.
There.
Okay, thank you. See you later in the panel.
Nice.
Yeah, Hendrik-Jan. Okay, time for the last speaker, also on technology. And it's a speaker online, and I hope we will see him. Yeah, he's architect and head of innovation at Broad Sustainable Building, Daniel Zhang. Daniel, are you there?
Hello.
Yes,
my name
we
is
can
Daniel
hear
Zhang,
you.
And I'm at Broadtown. I will show you what is Broadtown and tell you a little bit of our story about myself. Behind me is a tower. It's 57 stories and it's constructed in only 19 days. And here at the real heart of the company, I'm at the F Tower, which has these huge cantilevers, like between two Fs. And I will show you through this video recorded guided tour. Hello, it's Dutch Design Week. I'm really honored and very excited to spend the next 15 minutes or so with you. This is a bird's eye view of the entire Broadtown, and the company is 33 years old, and it's founded by my father, and he's an artist by training. He's actually an oil painting professor, and I'm an architect by training. I was trained in the United States, and I've lived in India and Berlin before moving back. Hello. So on this tour, it's very much improvised, and let's see what we will run into. And some of the core business of the company, we started as an air conditioning equipment manufacturer, and we are in over 80 countries. We have very exciting projects. Some are city scale, some a lot of international, like the Madrid airport, or here you see the Singapore's Garden by the Bay. And after we have realized that air conditioning energy efficiency, although we use non-electric chiller, most of our products uses exhaust heat, so there is 0 carbon by emissions. But we understand that to really solve the big problem, we need architecture. So the company, about 13 years ago, have begun building prefab, modular, factory-made buildings that are earthquake-proof, and it's equipped with technologies to erect really fast and to be really energy efficient, like the passive house standard. So I'm hopping on a golf cart. It's one of the sceneries at Bratown. The building, well, the site of Bratown is 1 square kilometer. 没问题，你可以开快一点，正常速度。It's 1 square kilometer, and we do research, production. If you can peek in, this is one of the older factories, and lots of experiments. This is actually a roadbed testing for the honeycomb material. It's called Bracor. That also makes up that F tower, which I just came out of. You can see the really large cantilevers. We'll get another view of it. It's really a purchase over the factory, and it's one of the world's most cantilevered buildings because all the usable space are cantilevered. The center core are only 4 pillars. So all throughout the company, we have building experiments, energy efficiency experiments, as you can imagine. And for example, these dormitories, they're actually retrofitted to meet the German passive house standard. And these were done close to 18 years ago. And the company is about 4,000 people, and we have a couple manufacturing sites. And this is the older one. We don't manufacture, we only manufacture air conditioning here. So this is another testing platform. So before our equipment gets shipped out to the world, that they are operating over here. And here we actually have a global monitoring center, so we can pull out our clients' technical performances. So it's real-time monitoring, like the IoT technology. The company, has the Bratown has a lot of green spaces. As I was on top of the building, I had shown you the 19-day 57-story tower, and many accomplishments that Brat has done over the years with building energy efficiency and rapid construction technologies. So we are confident to say that we're actually the world's fastest building company, Brat Group. And inside the company, we try to create an environment where it is not just appeasing, but also that there's a lot of time to think about philosophy. And on my right side, we have a garden we're really proud of. But very importantly is that there is a Western-style building that's actually also renovated to meet passive house standard. Sorry, it's a little bit overexposed. And on our right side, we really have an architectural playground. We have a pyramid in the far end, and we also have an 8-story tower, which is a co-working space. Yes, and over here, yes, we have almost like a not Venetian, it's a Versailles style building. And the building is designed as a school, so it has many classrooms, and it's titled Environmental Philosophy Institute. So over here we have another prototype building, and this building is the first fully stainless building ever. And I'll show you more about the stainless steel aspect and how we got to that. That's our latest technology. That's our latest endeavor. apart, we brought us in so many things. We're in air conditioning, we're in air purification business because China has very bad air. Everybody visited here probably experienced that. And we have construction, we have actually waste oil recycling, and recently we have started building windmills for low speed energy generation, renewable energy generation. If you want to Instagram us, we are Breeze Power, B-R-E-E-Z Power. There are some videos of very spectacular windmill crashes that's getting quite a lot of good views. But like I said, I think many things that Broad invest in are to do with the challenges that we are facing today. On the news, we see the issue with natural gas shortage. Then we just thought maybe it's early enough to get onto the renewable energy innovation experiments. So this is our farmland. This farmland is one of 3 farms that provide 90% of the annual meat and vegetable, all the nutrients consumption to our 3,000 employees. Some employees are not on site, so we don't ship. And this is where the pigs are. We could hear them. So I'm driving right now to the 57th story, but more importantly, our latest project, a modular construction made of stainless steel. It's a shipping container ready, or shipping container standard. It's built in only 28 hours, and it's 11 floors. So that video about a year ago has also, spread around the world. So much what we do, especially across such big distance, in this post-COVID days, is done on media, and hopefully China is opening up to the rest of the world soon. So there, that 11-story white tower is where we're driving to right now. And here's the 19 days 57-story tower. There's actually a ramp inside that you could drive all the way from the ground floor by 4, and there are 19 pavilions in the center courtyards, and you can drive a golf cart, or actually someone has driven a Jeep all the way up to the top. This was an experiment. If some of you that known us from before, is our challenge to build the world's tallest building in 3 months, over 860 meters. However, that challenge has failed. We wanted to look for ways to promote sustainability, but maybe there are different ways that we have to learn rather than just building something big and tall. So yes, maybe it's about lifestyle, maybe it's about youth. Me personally, I'm very invested in that sort of that world. So here we have arrived in a building that's built in 28 hours, and it's real. It's 11 floors, and I live on the 9th floor with my baby and my wife. And here we are. It's a street. This is a project. We're opening up the street for urban innovations for artists. And on the ground floor, we have a comic store, a comic shop. The comic shop is quite fashionable. It's actually all AI-generated comic. Maybe we can go in through there before I take you to the top. Just get an experience of very large-scale shipping container standard building, and at the same time it's made of stainless steel. That's the street. It's still work in progress, but we have a plan is to make the street into a canvas, and this canvas will be offered to the city And we're a little bit far outside the city, but we do have experience with building communities. So these are all first attempts on creating the old street. This architecture, in Chinese, we call it 活楼. And in English, it's called 阿楼, so the old street. There's a comic about old street. It exists in Metaverse, and we find it, and we visit this comic shop, and then we learn about many other possibilities of the street. So lots of experiments are going on here, maybe at different scale, engineering, but also about culture and AI technologies. I'd like to show you, yes, this material we're talking about. This is the material. This is what we are standing on. You can see they're made with very thin tubes. It's bent over here, and this tube holds up these plates. And you can see the floor, right? The floor is cut out, so you could see this is what we're standing on. And yeah, insulation. Everything is bolted together. There's no welding, so that's why it could be built so fast. It's gonna hit the elevator. And quickly show you this video of the rapid construction of this project. So this is Bratown. This is where industry meets ecology, meets architecture, meets design, meets culture. And thank you very much for listening to me. And I hope that we get to see each other in person very soon again. Thank you.
That's Daniel Zhang. I was too late in realizing I was talking to a video before, because I thought Daniel would be speaking to us directly, but he will be speaking to us now. The connection is being made, but we just watched the video that he presented. So I hope now the connection will be right. And if not, then yes, Daniel Zhang, there you are. As I said, I don't know if you heard me before, but I thought I was talking to you, but I was apparently talking to your video and you didn't respond. But thank you for sharing those projects with us. And welcome here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, loud and clear.
Perfect. Now, let me start with you. We organized this conference about strengthening the design bond between China and Europe. And you and also the other panelists are all in-betweeners. So I want to ask you this question, and I want to ask it to all of you. What do you think are the biggest challenges for establishing and promoting and growing that design bond between Europe and China? Do you see any challenges or obstacles that we need to take into consideration? Can I start with you, Daniel?
Of course. I like how we start right off the bat with challenges. I mean, we are speaking so far across the planet right now. I remember when I visited Netherlands last time was maybe quite many years ago, before I moved back from Berlin to China. And even as I'm speaking to you now, there's a lag. It's quite minimal, and it's already getting there. And I think it just calls to mind that embodied experiences are so important. And as an architect, I believe in collective experience. I think that's what architecture is irreplaceable compared to metaverse. As good as that dream is, we crave collective experience and relatable experiences. What I mean is, could there be a way, a method, such as, as bad as automotive has done to the world, highways are the same anywhere in the world. If you know how to drive in China, you know how to drive in Europe. So
yeah, sometimes you have to switch sides if you go to some other countries. Yeah.
Yes, and with housing and architecture, perhaps is there a way where we could respect diversity at the same time that we could share some? I don't want to put it so crude as a way of a standard, but maybe a collective best practices that we could share around the world. And to me, is that kind of best practices are not not emerging as often as I would like to see as compared to the pre-COVID days. So I think coming back to this bond is how could we build maybe more scientific collective experiences, if that exists right off my head. Thank you.
Yeah, so at the beginning of this conference, we talked to Richard Su, and he was mentioning that COVID, okay, it brought some time of reflection everywhere in the world. It brought us a bit slowing down, which is good. But you say that is at the moment is an obstacle also. So we need to create collective experiences again.
Yes, that's what I feel. I do miss personal connections with people from outside of this country. It sounds quite desperate, doesn't it?
It does sound a little bit desperate, yeah. Do you know already when you're going to leave the country?
No, not yet. My baby haven't even seen his grandparents in Taiwan, so it's a pain. It's a real pain, and I don't think we can avoid this. And how the future might be, I think it may be. Newton said that invention, necessity is the mother of invention. So I think when there's enough crave, I do need to express maybe to the panel and to everybody that there's a real crave for collective experience and for this bond, and how could we achieve it? And I think I'm also
that is the challenge. Okay, thanks. Let's listen to one of the other panelists. I see Tjeerd Veenhoven thinking. You really had a thinking face. Well, what did you think?
Well, first of all, I mean, it's very nice what he's saying indeed, because, well, the pain is mutual. I've been basically deprived from being able to work in China for over 2.5 years, basically already, which is a problem. I have knowledge to share. I have partners to visit, and it's quite difficult to do this. And I feel the distance has been growing, and I'm very much eager to close that gap again. So let's hope that can happen fast. And when it comes to the challenges, I mean, time for me is the biggest challenge. I mean, it's time. We're in a rush. We need to expedite a lot of these technologies, a lot of these changes in the fastest pace possible. And that for me is, every moment is wasted if it's not spent on doing this.
Yeah, Caroline, do you recognize these two challenges?
Yes, I think that I'm staring at the design bond sign going, okay, we are all citizens of this world. There's, when I came here, there's a lot of people talking about politics, like the war, blah, 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 China, the West. And I think that we can't think like that anymore. We have to think like, we are world citizens. I have our company logo, and the back it says responsible world citizens. And I think that that's the motto. I think that by talking a lot more, communication, having events like this really help bond us together. With internet now, you don't have to be here. and it's important that we talk.
Yeah, well, one of the interesting things is, of course, that when I hear Daniel talk, then I can feel his frustration because I recognize it. We went through this COVID time as a world, right? So that is also bringing some shared experience.
Yes, yes. I hope that, I mean, the world should together make the planet better.
Yeah.
And you know, like design is an important part of that.
So the feeling of that need to change the world, to be a responsible citizen.
We have to.
Yeah.
We cannot just sit back and say, okay, it's not my business.
Yeah. Hendrik-Jan, Grievink, so let's look a little bit to technology. I mean, that's what you do. So are you, in that sense, because you have always two streams, right? Are you a techno-optimist, or are you somebody who says, okay, we should, you know, use less, do less, fly less, eat less, because otherwise the world is going to shatters?
Yeah, I hate that question.
Yeah, okay, that's why I asked. Yeah.
Because, yeah, I think, can there be more flavors?
I don't know, maybe.
I mean, I think let's explore both of them a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
If you would go for the path of, well, let's reduce. I think the ultimate answer is like, get rid of yourself. You know, like, don't be here. And I think that's not
Collective suicide.
your words. But then it's kind of this self-hatred or self-denial.
Yeah.
That I think that's not. That can't, for me, it can't be the answer. Or it can't be the source of the answer. That thinking. The other direction, like, yeah, technology will solve everything. That's of course also hopelessly naive. Although, if you force me to choose, I would choose that because I think it's important to have some kind of utopia, or to have some shared visions of the world that you want to live in.
Yeah.
And I sometimes feel that it's, well, also in myself, that it's sometimes much easier to imagine how the whole world collapses than how it is to imagine how we create a world that we actually want to live in.
Yeah.
And that's really a tough job.
Yeah, so let's look at these shared experiences, right? So we had two presentations of Tjeerd and Caroline, and actually when you look at them, I see a lot of similarities in the way you work and the things you do. Is that also international trend to that creativity also can mean not creating new things, but repurposing materials?
I think the whole discipline of design is moving that way. I mean, we're not just there to create the final product for the user and as an experience. I mean, we're designing indeed value chains. It's wonderful to see also in schools that some students of design are becoming material innovators, some are becoming designing surfaces, some are actually still designing beautiful products. But we need all of those, and I think design is the perfect tool to handle or to basically address these very complicated situations. And in my work, it's proven to be a very useful mediator between all different stakeholders and the complexity of the topics that I handle.
Yeah, but maybe also internationally, right? So it goes over the borders.
It does bridge the many gaps we have, yeah.
Caroline?
Chinese, there's a saying called 变废为宝, which means using something that is absolutely useless and making it become a treasure. So I think that as designers, that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah. Daniel Zhang, you said you're looking forward to creating collective experiences, right? That you saw that as a big challenge. Do you have any idea how that could look like, or what kind of experiences are you looking for?
Ooh, something very immense, perhaps city scale. And you have really great designers in Netherlands, and a friend, Dan Roosegard, and his projects and art and design comes to mind. So, yeah, I think China may perhaps benefit the most from new possibilities, and maybe there are so much limitations with, we couldn't do so much experiments on, at city scale or on public spaces for the past 2 years. And maybe those muscles are a little bit numb, those brain cells have kind of withered. So I feel like, could there be such kind of experiments that we could share, and then we could maybe even created, you know, in two countries, right? Two nations, two peoples, and then do it at the same time. Kind of like right now, we're doing this at the same time.
Yeah, I see
and
that.
that's quite.
Yeah, okay, so there's a good starting point. Again, I see Tjeerd thinking almost physically. I can see you thinking. So well, what do you do?
I mean, of course, then, I mean, this is very inspiring. I see the cultural difference there as well. I mean, I would start in my own backyard. I would start small. I would do the copy-paste instead of the scale-up. There is, of course, some difference between our nations and also how perhaps we perceive some of the things. And so I'm also interested to well, this is a shared experience. So how would I communicate with Daniel about solving these large problems? Are we going to start small, or are we going to, you know, superimpose a master plan and execute? I don't know which. Both.
No, okay. So let's do what Hendrik-Jan did. Let's explore both, right? So start small. How would that look?
Well, as I said, your own backyard. I mean, there is a certain awareness that we need to have as responsible citizens of this world. And in my opinion, when it's superimposed, the idea, and we are just involved as an actor without any responsibilities, it's in my opinion, it's going to be futile. We need to participate. So if there is a grand plan, then how are we going to involve every actor in that to give them a part in this transition? That is something that fascinates me. But that's why I work in China, because that is actually where we can do these things.
Yeah, so that brings it together. So Caroline, I mean, I heard you also talk about these things. So I see you doing these little experiments, right? And trying out new things with the brick, with the grass inside. And I mean, these are all backyard experiments, right? But you also do this big scale assembling of garbage, right? So,
well, the big scale is to take care of the 18 million tons of waste. Yeah. If we don't do big scale and just do small little things like that, it will never take care of the waste problem. So that's why we're doing it. I personally hate doing big scale things like big buildings, big cities. I prefer to, if you have enough land, then you shouldn't have like tall buildings. You should have buildings that are like smaller. There's smaller communities, but having a better quality of life. And I think that in the future, I hope that even, especially in China, they can consider that. Have less children, have more land to use.
The less children is already taking place, right? We have
no, they're now saying 3 people,
yeah.
like at least 3 kids.
Yeah.
So no.
Daniel, I somehow have the feeling that you're more a guy for the bigger plans, right? So I don't know. Do you have a small backyard?
No, that's another thing. So it's a cultural difference. We're so urban, and the rest of the world are used to the comfort of having a backyard, and that's kind of a luxury for all of China people. So even the air is so yucky outside. That's another issue, that we don't want to be in the backyard.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So. Yeah. So I heard somebody say when I lived in China that you could, you know, smoke for free. So you don't need to. Yeah. Okay. So that's a small joke, right? So anyway.
Yes.
But explain. So your ambition, you're actually the theme of this design conference is Get Set. I have the feeling that you're very Get Set. You're ready to go, and the reason that you're thinking in these big scale projects is that you say the challenges are so big. Is that right?
Maybe I would frame it a little bit differently, because challenges are big, and there are people. To be honest, I think there are immense capital out there that are able to do really great things, but these capital maybe are not putting their resources in the right places, such as circular economy. Not many big capital are doing this enough, and we have a circular economy company that's about to get listed, and we are one of the, in our category of doing waste oil recycling, we're one of the first to go listed. So when you ask about big plans and big projects, is that we are in a very capitalistic civilization right now, and then there are they are decision makers who are yielding enormous amount of powers. So I think more of our mentality, and also has been a long time the mentality of corporations, and Broad is in that category, is to influence real decision makers. And in China, some people really yield a lot of power. And we are industrialists, we are not capitalists. So that's a whole nother world to us. And I would say if we're able to change, to meet the challenge or change anything at scale, we would have to change how we, how we live with capital in this day and age.
Yeah. Okay. So if we, because that's we have 5 more minutes, so it's not enough to solve all problems, but maybe we can together formulate some kind of principles or guidelines that would help us stay on common ground, right? So so if we want to nurture that bond, so what principles should we adhere?
Yeah, I just have to think of, when I look at your presentation, I think you're both, you're like creating almost like the fabric of our built environment.
Earthly
like
things, yes.
And if I see David driving around his compound, it almost feels like, I have to think of the European toy Lego bricks. I don't know if that resonates with the Chinese audience.
Lego bricks, is
yes,
familiar with you?
Yeah, you have it?
Yeah.
So David almost looks like he's driving around his own Lego creation. And then to me, the notion of play comes up.
Yeah.
And I think playfulness is something that is super important. And I think play fosters a lot of things, like communication, learning with kids, but I think as much with adults. So I think if we can keep that playfulness a little bit, then I would look very much forward to see one of David's buildings with your materials that is built in 24 hours, but will decompose in 5 years.
Yeah, okay, playfulness as a principle. I like that a lot. Caroline, Daniel, and
you go first.
Okay,
I'm still thinking.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, guidelines. Well, communication is key here. I've been practicing working with my Chinese friends for quite a while, and it's been very interesting. I don't think we have to underestimate the cultural difference, the historical difference we have. It's easy to navigate this at a casual meeting with a little bit of tea, but when you start to really get down to business and make choices, it's quite a challenge. And that's something I would like to practice a little bit more. And I think amongst designers, amongst creatives, it's a little bit easier. So until that.
So why is it easier? Does that have to do with that playfulness? Or
it has to do with the playfulness. It also has to do with sincerity and the awareness of the job that we have to do. There is indeed, as Daniel says, no capital necessarily involved. It's just about enabling beautiful minds. I mean, artistic, creative people, they have fantastic ideas, and they, at that moment of conception, there is nothing negative there, and that's a universal thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's we're talking about design bond, right? So creativity, playfulness. Caroline?
The world will end in 2030 if we continue to use, if we continue to produce the carbon emission that we are producing now. So concrete, steel, glass, all that kind of traditional building materials, or like even the design things that we are making. I hope that we can be more, think really about sustainability, not just a calling, but an actual action.
Yeah, so you have the feeling that this sense that the world is going the wrong direction if we don't do anything.
Yeah, we will be all dead. Like this summer, everybody can feel, even now I can wear a t-shirt and walk around in Eindhoven, and that's not good. I mean, I'm sure you like it, but it's terrible. So we must design responsibly.
Yeah, Daniel Zhang, how do you listen to it on the other side of this planet?
Yes, I think my perspective on design has to do with what is not design, in the sense that design is about jumping out. It's about becoming differentiating from what exists, and in this challenging times, I think it just calls for more breakthrough designs. And as an architectural designer, and it just, I think, calls for bigger challenges, and maybe and maybe it's in these moments I'm getting shivers, is that the designers are becoming more important than ever.
Okay, so that's what you say could bring us even more together, these bigger challenges. So not only the notion that there is a world that is in problems, but also looking together at solutions. Thanks. Let's see, on the first row here in Eindhoven is Vicky Richardson. She's head of architecture at the Royal Academy of Arts in London, board member also of China Europe Design. Welcome. Please give her a warm welcome as well. You're listening to this conversation and you think?
Yeah, hi everyone, and hello friends in China. It's really great to be part of this and to hear all your presentations, which were really inspiring. I have a sort of question and a sort of comment as well. I mean, I think that whilst I completely agree about, you know, the importance of the design bond and importance of communication, and we have so much to learn from China and so much to share, I think we need to kind of be honest about the barriers there are now to being able to collaborate with friends in China and to be able to communicate as well. And I think those barriers are, you know, their communication, technology, but politics is quite a big one, and also and not just politics at the big level, but also politics at the level of perception, you know, and the kind of negative perceptions of China in Europe. And I think that we have quite a lot of work to do to challenge those perceptions, and that means not just sort of saying, "Oh, how great to be friends, hold hands across the water, isn't it wonderful?" You know, I mean, it's more than just sort of celebrating a relationship. Actually, we have to defend some of the things we think are really positive about China, and my concern is that I've heard quite a lot of criticism of some of the aspects of Chinese development and growth that I personally think make it an incredibly exciting place, you know, and why I'm interested in China more than, say, I'm interested in Latin America or India, or, you know, we could be sitting here talking about anywhere in the world, but we're talking about China. So what is it specifically about China that is so exciting? And for me, it's the kind of ambition and the spirit of a positive spirit about the future, that China is planning for the future in a way that European societies really aren't. They have brought millions of people out of poverty over the last 20 years, and that's through economic growth, whereas I think here, in some ways, European societies have given up on the importance of economic development and growth, and as a result, we're facing huge cost of living crises, people in poverty, definitely in the UK, but elsewhere. So, you know, I think we have to like kind of
so you're talking about these perceptions, right? And
yeah,
exactly. And then you say, but there's always two ways, right, to do this. And that's maybe a question to you then. We can sort of challenge that in a big scale, or you can say, oh, well, let's strengthen the individual bonds with people.
Yeah,
How do you look at that?
Of course, those individual bonds are really important. And, you know, when I've been to China, I've learnt so much, you know, and I find it a sort of can-do spirit, you know, yeah, we can make this happen, we can do this. It's that sort of spirit that I've really enjoyed, you know, when I've been to China and had the chance to work with people in China, and I think that comes from what's been achieved in terms of development.
Okay, thank you for that, Vicky Richardson. Of course, let's do a quick, because that's the last that we can do in this panel. Quick thing, let's not only celebrate, but also look at, okay, so there are big challenges, especially if you look at the politics, even small politics and perceptions that people have of each other. Anyone care to comment? Tjeerd.
Well, currently my explorations in China are fully based on personal connections with personal people. It's strange to me that in 5 years we've changed from our perspective then to China to the perspective we have now, and it dumbfounds me. I don't really understand how that happened. For sure, I know that my friends there are still the same friends, and I can discuss the same things and achieve the same goals, so that's not changing.
Exactly. Caroline?
We are human beings.
Daniel?
We're human beings.
Okay, so that's a good conclusion, I think. Unless you want to have the final words on this discussion.
I'll follow up on this.
Okay, we're all human beings, right? And 1 + 1 is going to infinity. I also keep that in mind. Thank you. Can I thank all the speakers? Caroline Cheng, Tjeerd Veenhoven, Hendrik-Jan Grievink, and Daniel Zhang. It was a short snapshot into the strengthening of design bonds, and I think we had a nice journey, starting from nature, going to technology, and then here coming together in an international hybrid discussion that was actually really taking place on the planet. I liked it, and we found common ground in the panel, I had a feeling, especially in the conclusion that we're all humans. Anyway, so it's not the end of the program. It was a pleasure for me here to do this bonding journey for you, but now your pleasure is going to start. We're going to remove the chairs, they are going away, and I will leave you in the good company of Kexin Hao. And she's an award-winning young designer. She's based in the Netherlands, she's coming on stage right now. And I want to ask you to all stand up. She devised this performance during the pandemic to reflect on body memory and how our body is shaped through times and national agendas. And I think you should start with a big, big round of applause for her. Kexin Hao.
Hello. So, are we ready? Yay. So everyone make sure that you have space to move. And you can check out my website and YouTube, Total Body Workout, to experience the total body workout. Now we're doing a partial body workout. Everybody follows me.
Front, top, open up. Breathe in, breathe out. Swing, swing. Let go, loosen up. Breathe on rhythm. Your spine is strengthened. Stable market for life insurance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lock your fingers. Front, back, top. Let go. Swing your arms and look up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Warming up. Less injury. Arm, hand, palm and wrist. Shoulder, neck and fingertips. Burden free from semiotics. They carry no more politics. To chest, to sky, to side. Put down, push up, punch side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shoulders, lats and triceps. To chest, to sky, to side. For health, defense and vigilance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Swipe away. Swipe, punch, punch. Other side, swipe, punch, punch. 6 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Arm, fist, strength and core. 1 to the US imperialism. Another to the Soviet revisionism. Punctual, accurate, and powerful. 5, 6. We go to the chest. Lunge forward and spread your chest.
The other side.
Swing your arms and squeeze your back. Firmly, smoothly, muscles fired up. 5, 6. 4 more times. 1, 2. Between the shoulder blades. Crack the humiliation suffered in the war. Honor the process and watch out the change for that unbreakable national physique. elbows back, arms back, shoot the arrow to the side, arms fold, arms spread, arrow to the other side, power and momentum, keep your body on the move, supple and flexible, shoulder back and inner thighs, productive, performative, harmony in a collective. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, march and spot. Everybody, you and me, now and here, totally. The arms and chest of yours and mine, we work them out,
Prepare to squat.
Step side, cross arms, squat deeper, step back, head up, torso straight, hip down, core engaged, put your weight on the heels, squeeze your glutes all the way, control, balance, resistance, courage, loyalty, chivalry. Without a physical education, we can't achieve modern civilization. Kick, side, kick, side,
Kick to the back,
kick, back.
to the side.
Hours office work. Now it's time to unload stress. Disciplined employee, guardian of your own body. Idealized citizen, obedient sovereign. Punch, punch, double punch, spread your arms. Kick, kick. Punch, punch, double punch, jump. With cardio, with rhythm, with sweat, with joy. Keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody unified. 2, 2, 3, 4. All the moves synchronized.
Everybody together.
You and me, now and here,
Totally.
the glutes and legs of
Yours and mine.
we work them out. Totalized. Swing your arm, stretch your body, extend the limit, calm and easy. Daily program, 6:30. National project, half a century. From the past to the future, we're still reaching to the further. Open, twist, open, hips, draw a circle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Soft and flexible, butt and torso. Open, fold, open, lower. Strong pelvic for nurturing mother. Waist, slimmer, curve, softer. We're so feminine, we're performing the gender. Swing your arms, left and right. Draw a pie. Arms up, right and left. Revert the pie. Clockwise, running clock. Rolling wheel. Your body is the vehicle. Back and forth, now and then. Slavic brothers, Soviet friends. Tip, tip, quick step. Same with the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tip, tip, little taps. Keep your speed on the track. Lower body all relaxed. Little kicks to kill the stress. Shake it off. 4 more reps from ankle, heel to the toe. Get them ready, jumping jack. Arms fold, arms wide, legs in, legs split. 1, 2, bounce and swing.
Come on, everyone together.
Land your your knees. Softly, power it up. Burn the calorie. We are energized. We are the children. Governmental effort for the whole generation. Every body part and every person, all mobilized for the entire nation. Everybody, you and me. Now and here, totally. The beat and pulse of yours and mine. We work them out. Total life. 1, 2, twist your torso, rotate your body, arms follow, body, mind, all at ease. No more words, burden free. Loosen up, let's go. Breathe, breathe. Total body workout. Now complete.
Good job,